Hello and welcome to my channel. You might be wondering, as a project team member or even as a project manager or even someone who's just interested in projects, you might want to understand what is a project brief. You want to appreciate what constitutes a project brief. You want to understand how do you come up with a project brief. Don't worry, in this video I'm going to explain to you what is a project brief and at what stage are you supposed to create a project brief and what constitutes a project brief. So, like the name says, it has to be brief. So let's dive in. Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Oscar Mbira. I'm a certified program and project manager. This is the channel I help aspiring project managers and also practicing project managers to succeed. Now, you are done with the approach that you want to use on the project. You now need to assemble what is called a project brief. What is a project brief? As a project manager, the name is very clear. It has to be brief. You are now able to say, we have appointed the project executive, we have appointed the project manager, we have appointed our team structure, we have revisited the business case, we have agreed on the approach. So you want to assemble this into one. I've created a template on the project brief. You can find the link in the description below. Now, all this information, you have put it in place. We now need to go to a very summarized document, which is called project brief. So one of the expected outcome of a project startup phase is a project brief. It has to be brief. So what do you expect to see in the project brief? Project brief is going to consolidate all these other activities that we're talking about, all the outcomes from these other activities, including who is an executive or sponsor, who is the project manager, which is you, the project team structure, the business case, and so on and so forth. Now, you've enjoyed the video so far. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to click the like button, the subscribe button, and the notification button so that you're the first person to be notified each time a new video is uploaded on this channel. It will also help to grow this channel. It will also help this channel to create more videos like this one. There are quite a number of sections that have to be populated in a project brief. But however, you are free to customize some of these. So I'm going to take you through those sections in a project brief. So the first one that we're going to look at is called definition, project definition in a project brief. So the project definition, as the name suggests, this is the project definition that is used to set down exactly what the project idea is. If the project idea isn't clear, which is very uncommon, you may need a lot of discussion first. Some sections of the project definition can help you on this. So if the idea is not clear, which is very, very common, you may need a lot of discussion first for you to appreciate the definition of the project. So once the project definition is very clear to you as a project manager, the next stage is to go for the project background. So what is this project background? I'm going to take you through that. So the background describes how the project idea came into being. It sets the rest of the definition into context. Say for example, your background section may read, this project was listed in last year's annual reports as part of our drive to reduce delivery times to customers by at least 60%. Or, this is the project in a program of live projects to bring the company into line with the corporate governance requirements of the company. So, after clearly understanding the background of the project, you also need to put in the project brief the objectives of the project. So, let's go through the objectives of the project. Same project, different people can have different objectives. The project objectives set down the agreed objectives that everyone can then sign up to. So it is very important that the project objectives are aligned by all members, especially the beneficiaries of the project. So, in the project objectives, it must be very clear in terms of how each of the 6 control factors, time, cost, quality, scope, and risk and benefits are also going to be measured and controlled. You may find that a bit of limiting, but if you can always add objectives that don't fit easy into these categories, it will be better. You have specified the project objectives in your project brief. You now need to specify the project scope and exclusions. So let's go through the project scope and exclusions. Project scope and exclusions constitute a valuable section, not only because it sets down what is part of the project, but also because it specifies what is not. So you should be very clear in terms of what is in scope and what is not in scope. That is very, very important during the startup of the project or project startup. The project scope is important in managing expectations. A list of what is in the project isn't necessarily enough, and at the end of the business, users can be disappointed because we haven't included something that the business area was expecting. So you'll find that most of the requirements might be missing. These exclusions aren't the whole planet outside the project, but rather those areas where misunderstandings may occur. It is very, very important during the project startup phase to specify what the project is including and what the project is excluding. This is very, very important. The next phase of the project brief, it is the assumptions and constraints. What do we mean by this? It is very unlikely that you find a project which is open-ended. Most projects you find they have time limitation, they also have budget limitations, even technical limitations. So as you go through the project startup phase, you must make sure that you are very clear in terms of the assumptions in the project. You must be very clear in terms of the constraints in the project. I've done a video on the project constraints and project baselines. You can also check that video on my channel. It's quite important for you to appreciate the baselines in a project. So, one of the expectations in the project brief is the stakeholder identification. You should be able to identify the stakeholders in the project. So someone might ask, who is a stakeholder? What I normally do in my project, for you to be able to pick the stakeholders in a project, look for those with influence. Look for those who are interested in the project. In most cases, these are the people who are going to form the stakeholders in a project. It could be the regulator, the government, it could be any inspectors, for example, it could be a specific department, it could be legal, it could be the courts, or any interested parties. Stakeholder identification is very, very important during project startup. It's going to help you to set the right footing for your project as you move from one phase to the other. So, the other section of the project brief that you have to complete or you have to document is the project tolerance. What do we mean by tolerance? As you run the project, and even from my experience, it's easier if you're running a project with a tolerance. It's something that you can negotiate with the project board or the project sponsor or even the executive. It's most unlikely that, for example, if it's a budget, you're going to be exactly within the budget. Sometimes you might exceed the budget. So we are talking of that exceeding of the budget. How far can you exceed? How elastic is that budget in a project? What I've seen with other projects, they might say 10%, which means if your project, for example, the simplest example, if it was $100, you can go as far as $110 without asking for approval, without asking for any authorization from the project board. In some cases, they even talk about quality of products. Maybe your project produces a certain product, they might say, if the tolerance is within 5% or 3% or 2%, then you proceed. So project tolerances should be documented. For example, timelines. Say your project was supposed to run for 2 years. They might say if you exceed by 3 months or 6 months, it will still be acceptable. So in the project brief, during the project startup phase, make sure that you have documented your project tolerances. That is very, very important. Last but not least section of the project brief is what is called interfacing. So we want to expand on that. What do you mean by interfacing? Especially these days, most projects are not run in isolation. They have to interact either externally with other systems, for example, other processes, even other regulatory channels, and so on and so forth. Other processes or any channels, that is very, very common. Or maybe the interaction or the interfacing is into the project. So which means you're waiting for something external to come into the project. So during this time of a project startup, this is an opportunity to clearly label and state and document what are the interfaces that are going to interact with your project. It has to be well documented. You might not have all, but at least you must have some idea. I hope you've enjoyed the video so far. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to click the like button, the subscribe button, and the notification button so that you're the first person to be notified each time a new video is uploaded on this channel. It will also help to grow this channel. It will also help this channel to create more videos like this one. So every project, it must have a specific outcome. It could be just a result that you want to create. It could be a product that you want to create. It could be a service. So one of the most important sections that you have to document in the project brief is the product description. What do you mean by product? It could be any deliverable in the project. You might not have all of them, but most likely you have an idea of how many and which products are you going to produce or are you going to have in the project. So you also need to describe them in terms of quality, in terms of acceptance criteria. So make sure that your project brief, it has to be brief. Don't make it too detailed. It has to be brief. What are the expected deliverables? What are the expected products along the chain of the project? That is very, very critical. So your project brief also should have the role description. Remember, if you want me to create additional videos based on the concepts, the techniques, and all the information that we have discussed earlier in this video, or else you have some clarifications, let me know in the comment section below.